Embrace nonchalance, a misunderstood yet potent trait in a world overwhelmed by noise and constant reactions. In an environment where opinions are shouted, emotions are put on display, and every action is recorded, true power lies in restraint. The individual who remains unfazed, who doesn't chase after validation, and who doesn't exhibit desperation, is the one that others fear the most. This notion isn't about being apathetic, it's about maintaining control and composure, projecting dominance under the guise of indifference. To be nonchalant means to care selectively, to hide one's intentions, and to remain inscrutable. Machiavelli recognized that appearances can be powerful weapons. He taught that a ruler must maintain a sense of calm even amidst chaos, as revealing desperation only invites manipulation. The nonchalant individual wields power through silence. He communicates concisely and acts with intention. Rather than filling the silence with noise or showcasing a wide array of emotions, he exhibits discipline and deliberation. While others react impulsively to every slight or rumor, he remains composed, observing and assessing the situation without haste. There is strength in making others uncertain, becoming the lingering question in their minds. Why doesn't he react? Why doesn't he care? Their confusion transforms into his advantage, their curiosity into his control. By halting reactions and refraining from pursuit, one draws others closer as the world gravitates towards mystery and the unpredictable. Machiavelli never endorsed emotional transparency. He advised rulers to conceal their true intentions. Nonchalance serves as an ideal disguise. It isn't about lacking emotion, but mastering it, feeling deeply while displaying little. The nonchalant individual dictates the emotional atmosphere, leaving others to speculate about his feelings and desires. This dynamic resembles psychological warfare. The person who appears to need nothing often exercises control over everything. By feigning indifference or detachment, others rush to fulfill perceived needs, creating an environment where calmness translates to authority. However, this calmness is cultivated. The nonchalant person has learned to pause, delay reactions, and observe. He has established a gap between his feelings and outward expressions, understanding that urgency does not equate to action. He moves only when necessary, making his actions noteworthy. Respect cannot be begged or pleaded for. It must be earned through quiet confidence. The truly self-assured individual appears to care less. Even when he feels deeply, he reveals little too soon, recognizing that emotions are a form of currency to be spent wisely. Society respects what it cannot fully grasp or predict. The nonchalant man symbolizes discipline in an impulsive age. He is the ghost in a chaotic room, revealing nothing yet observing everything. In a world that clamors for attention, the one who says the least often commands the most respect. If this perspective challenges your understanding of confidence, share your thoughts in the comments. Reflect on how nonchalance has manifested in your life. Nonchalance stems not from arrogance but from clarity. The individual who sees clearly has no need to react impulsively. He has already assessed outcomes and accepted what is controllable, discarding the rest. With no internal chaos, his external demeanor remains tranquil, making him untouchable. Many display their insecurities openly, apologizing before speaking or seeking validation prematurely. In contrast, the nonchalant person navigates the world with self-assuredness, standing firm as though he belongs, because he has already decided he does. This composure can be unsettling. It threatens the frantic and exposes the insecure. While others strive to prove their worth, he requires no validation. He simply exists, and in a society enamored with attention and drama, his unwavering presence becomes impossible to ignore. Machiavelli asserted that it is insufficient to be strong. One must also appear strong. Similarly, it's not enough to feel composed. One must appear unmoved. The way others perceive you shapes how they treat you. If they believe you are in control, they will act accordingly. Nonchalance isn't a facade. It's a product of a mindset that no longer chases what lacks significance. It stems from mastering impulses, breaking dependence on attention, and understanding that urgency often undermines power. The person who acts urgently relinquishes control, while the one who moves thoughtfully begins to rule. There's a powerful energy in restraint, a profound strength in doing less, speaking less, and reacting less. Each time you withhold an emotional response, you claim ownership of yourself. Each moment you allow others to reveal their motives while you remain steady, you gain insight, the true currency of advantage. Others may label this behavior as cold or distant, but the nonchalant individual remains unfazed by such misunderstandings. His goal isn't to be liked, but to win. In a Machiavellian sense, winning means outlasting, outmaneuvering, and outwitting. Nonchalance should never be mistaken for passivity. It embodies patience with purpose. It reflects focused detachment that only the disciplined can sustain. It conveys a message. I am not threatened by your actions. I have nothing to prove. In every setting, there exists one individual who does not compete for attention. He refrains from engaging in every argument, declining to chase every opportunity. His opinions are only offered when they outweigh the silence they replace. This person commands the room through rare energy and presence. You may feel pressured to be loud, to assert yourself, or to fill space with sound. However, true confidence does not require permission or performance. It exists quietly. When such a presence enters a room, it is instantly noticeable. Nonchalance is often mistaken for arrogance, but it is rooted in mastery rather than ego. It signifies mastery over timing, presence, and expression. It's the ability to deeply feel while showing nothing, to remain engaged while appearing detached. This illusion of indifference creates a gravitational pull. People are drawn to what seems to move away from them. They become fixated on what ignores them and submit to what does not plead for attention. This paradox of power reveals that the less you disclose, the more speculation arises. The less you pursue, the more others chase. The less you articulate, the greater the weight of your words becomes. The nonchalant individual does not refrain from speaking due to a lack of thoughts. He remains silent because most conversations are not worth engaging in. He conserves his presence and doesn't dilute himself by being overly accessible. He chooses to show up only when it truly matters, ensuring that his presence commands attention. Machiavelli recognized that the appearance of virtue often holds more influence than virtue itself. Similarly, projecting indifference can wield more power than genuine apathy. A man who feels nothing is merely numb, a sign of weakness. However, one who experiences everything but filters it through discipline becomes untouchable, able to face chaos and temptation without yielding. You owe no one your emotional expression. To be nonchalant is to declare, I determine what matters in my life. I choose what enters my world and when I speak. This mindset forms the foundation of true confidence. Observe how people react in silence, how they scramble to fill it, and how they inadvertently reveal too much. This is the leverage that nonchalance creates. This principle is not about playing games. It's about controlling emotional and psychological space. When someone angers you and you remain calm, they lose their grip. If they insult you and you remain unaffected, they become uncomfortable. This is how power is cultivated, not through overt domination, but through disciplined restraint. The individual who remains steadfast has likely spent years honing this stillness, confronting personal fears in solitude. He understands the distinction between reacting impulsively and responding thoughtfully. Reactions are instinctual, while responses are strategic. The nonchalant person lives in response, aware of his desires but devoid of desperation. He knows who he is and what he offers, so he does not have to perform. This quiet certainty emanates from him, not needing validation or applause. It exists to be felt, seen, and understood without explanation. Embrace the discomfort of being misunderstood. Hold your expression when misjudged. Resist the urge for immediate gratification when attention is tempting. And keep your plans to yourself even when your ego craves acknowledgement. This restraint is the price of power, the discipline required for nonchalance. You will face moments of temptation to react, where silence may seem like weakness and walking away feels like defeat. Remember that most individuals are governed by impulse, acting quickly and emotionally. That noise buries them, making them predictable and vulnerable. The nonchalant individual, however, is never forgotten. In a world glued to stimulation, his tranquility stands out. His stillness appears unnatural, while his restraint exudes dominance. People are influenced more by the emotional environment you create than by anything else. Shift the narrative not through conflict, but by remaining unmoved. You become the benchmark, a presence that demands no validation, a mind that remains steady and vigilant. There is a reason leaders often speak last. The strongest individuals avoid shouting. When true power exists, silence becomes a formidable weapon. You need not rush into debates or insert yourself into every dialogue. Allow others to expend their energy seeking visibility. Once the chaos settles, you remain calm, composed, and unshaken. The nonchalant person does not conform to the pressures of time or popularity. He recognizes the frantic nature of the world, where people chase trends and attention. By rising above, you become magnetic, not through demanding attention, but by mastering your presence. Machiavelli understood the delicate balance of power. To rule effectively, a leader must inspire more fear than love without fostering hatred. Nonchalance strikes this balance perfectly, garnering respect without the need for affection. Power rooted in mystery is more resilient than noise-driven authority. When you speak, your words carry weight, not because they are loud, but because they are rare. When you act, your movements resonate, not due to their grandeur, but because of their deliberation. The nonchalant individual does not squander himself. Every expression, gesture, and moment of attention is deliberate, making his presence feel sacred. People yearn for certainty and look for anchors in their lives. The nonchalant man offers stability, not through reassurance, but through his unyielding presence. He refrains from over-explaining, allowing his actions to speak and his silence to resonate. Learn to embody the calm center amidst chaos, not by pretending to rise above, but by mastering your reactions. Each time you resist the urge to react, you assert control over the situation. Each moment you walk away without responding builds your strength. Most individuals are slaves to their emotions, but the nonchalant person governs his instincts. In relationships, nonchalance represents power, not through coldness or emotional manipulation, but through emotional sovereignty. It embodies the ability to care without clinging, to love without losing oneself, and to be present without exposing everything. By maintaining your center, you create tension and depth, drawing others closer. You do not chase. You exist fully as you are, unperforming softness for acceptance. The nonchalant individual is not unkind. He simply remains unshaken. His peace stems from trials and quiet confrontations with himself, creating an inner victory that cannot be taken away. Machiavelli advised that fortune favors the bold. However, boldness doesn't always roar. Sometimes it manifests as the refusal to provoke, to be baited, or to lower oneself to the desperate. The world will challenge your calmness, insult you, dismiss you, and misinterpret you. It will attempt to trigger reactions, provoke explanations, and elicit responses. The real test is not how loudly you can resist, but whether you can traverse it all while remaining silent, determined, and unshaken. This unwavering demeanor is what makes you exceptional and memorable, not the noise you generate, but the calm you maintain. You do not become nonchalant by mere chance. It is a deliberate process cultivated through patience, pain, and purpose. True power is quiet, moving without sound or seeking validation. In essence, nonchalance is not about feigning indifference. It is about being so rooted in self-mastery that the world cannot disturb you. This mastery allows you to hold tension without breaking, to hear insults without reacting, and to feel pressure without rushing. The nonchalant man is not devoid of feelings. Instead, he is brimming with discipline. Discipline represents the highest form of self-respect, earned through effort rather than instinct. Understand that nonchalance is not inherent, it is earned. We are born with impulses, seeking validation and understanding. However, the individual who trains himself to transcend these urges, to delay gratification, and to remain composed, becomes impervious to external chaos. Machiavelli recognized the theater of power, knowing that perception shapes influence. If you appear desperate, you are perceived as weak. If you maintain calm, you are deemed competent. If you seem detached, you inspire fear. The nonchalant man navigates this theater with finesse, not through manipulation, but through consistent behavior. His power is not an act. It is a cultivated habit, predictable in its stillness. His responses do not change based on who is observing. He remains the same whether alone, in a crowd, or in conflict. This consistency fosters trust, and trust, even when unspoken, builds control. When others realize they cannot provoke you, they begin to adjust their behavior. They hesitate, reconsider, and reflect upon their actions, seeing their chaos mirrored in your calmness. This is not a matter of superiority, but of sovereignty, being the master of your emotional and psychological space. You dictate when to speak, act, or reveal, never dragged or exposed, never rushed, as you cultivate an inner world that remains untouched. The nonchalant man does not fear being misunderstood. He acknowledges that mystery can hold more power than explanation. Suggestion can be more alluring than confession, and a calm demeanor often commands more authority than a loud voice. He does not sacrifice strength for sympathy, nor does he plead for acknowledgement. Instead, he allows others to project, assume, and wonder while he remains steadfast. Stillness creates contrast, and contrast breeds power. In a realm of talkers, the attentive listener becomes formidable. In a world of reactions, the individual who pauses becomes unpredictable. In a noisy environment, silence becomes a distinct presence. That presence lingers long after the moment has passed, as people may not remember every word spoken, but will recall how their interactions made them feel. Being in the presence of someone who does not chase, react, or need creates an unforgettable feeling, one of gravity and dominance. To be respected, one must stop performing, over-explaining, and reacting to every demand for attention. Start observing, withholding, and measuring your energy as if it were the most valuable currency. The person who remains composed under pressure, who conceals his hand, and who allows others to speak first, possesses genuine power. This power is not transient. It lasts, building empires, shifting perceptions, and altering the emotional dynamics of every room one enters. Nonchalance represents a precise care for what truly matters, providing stability while others scramble. Nonchalance is characterized by quiet strength and sharp restraint. It is a strategic presence that is not meant for the weak or impulsive, but for the individual who confronts chaos without flinching. Ultimately, be nonchalant, not to appear powerful, but because you inherently are.